You folks have been liking my analog horror reviews, so here I am with another one. This time it's Jurassic Park analog horror. There are a lot of Jurassic Park analog horror series on YouTube, but I think the channel DinoX86 showcases the most realistic events that would play out if the dinosaurs in Isla or Sorna were to be set free. This channel has a few tapes. The first few show the unfortunate events that transpired after the T.rex breakout on Nublar, and the last but the longest tape shows us what happens to a group of tourists who went on Sorna to see dinosaurs. Yeah, they're apparently doing dinosaur tours on Sorna now. You could tell this creator took a lot of time and effort to make these animations, so go over there and leave a sub to his channel, and while you're at it, leave one over here too. During the 10th of August 1992, there was a powerful tropical storm in Nublar that caused a power outage on the island. To combat this, one of the security staff went out to turn on the backup generator. The employee was Frank Ellsworth. He volunteered since his co-worker proclaimed he did it last time. So it appears that these power outages are a common occurrence, with the staff often having to go back and turn on the backup generator. Which is weird, like you think that the owner knows the island is smack center in the tropics, so they'd have better security or infrastructure. Before Frank goes out, he's told that he needs to take a camera and record his trek, which leaves him understandably annoyed, because why would anyone want to haul around a camera in a storm on an island filled with dinosaurs that can now be on the loose? Frank manages to reach Outpost B and turns on the backup generator. As he was making his way back to the jeep, however, he noticed that the T.rex enclosure had a big tear in it. The Tyrannosaurus had breached containment. With this knowledge, he bolts towards his jeep, but just as he was about to hop in the vehicle, the T.rex is illuminated for a split second by the lightning. With his body filled with adrenaline, he bolts into the opposite direction and manages to seek refuge in a large shipping container. The animal leans its massive head to look for the man inside of the container, and tries its best to reach him by attempting to destroy his hiding spot, but it was unable to. So from both our and Frank's point of view, the animal had moved on, because the banging had stopped and there was no more noise. For me personally, I think that he went back outside a bit too soon. I would have slept in the container until help arrived. Unfortunately for Frank, the T.rex was in fact not gone, but was just a short distance away, watching him in the darkness, waiting for him to exit the container, and when he was far enough away, it sprung into action and ate him. The next footage is with Alistair Grant, who is the assistant chief of the security center at the park. After not hearing back anything from Frank, he fears the worst, and sets out to Outpost B to see if Frank is okay. He was driving on the park's trail on the way to Site B, and just as he said the word T.rex, it comes out of the forest unannounced and forces Al to swerve off the trail to avoid running into the animal. This causes the car to flip over and he crawls out a little dazed, but for the most part okay. Naturally, the T.rex comes right up next to the car to investigate, but he is knowledgeable about the park's animals and knew to remain still. In the end, the T.rex couldn't detect him and went on its way. After he made sure the animal had left the area, he made his way to a nearby shed with a phone to contact the containment team so that they could sedate the animal. He instructs them to head to Outpost B because that's where he'll be heading to look for Frank, and he'll shoot a flare in the air once he arrives. After he was about to exit the shed, he hears the call of another large dinosaur and goes into survival mode, inching closer and closer towards the entrance to see what could possibly be there. Surprisingly, it was a Stegosaurus and he let out a sigh of relief. So he makes his way to Outpost B on foot. In his search for Frank, he discovers the grim fate of his fellow employee. A large pool of blood was near the shipping crate, and before he could fully process everything, he hears the T.rex not too far away. So he shoots his flare, which alerts the T.rex of his presence. He tries to make it up the second story of the generator room, but the carnivore breaks the metal rails and grabs Alistair by his leg, crushing it. It throws him onto the ground, but just before it could finish him off, the containment team arrives and distracts the animal, which was soon on the floor itself due to the powerful tranquilizers. This recording comes to an end and we then get one describing the aftermath of this event. It shows Alistair's documentation of the entire story, from Frank's death all the way to the Rex's sedation. As for his leg, he states that amputation may be necessary, considering how damaged it was after the bite. He also points out and criticizes the safety of the park and Ingen's investors, saying if all this can happen just 2 years before the park is set to be opened, then what will happen when visitors start to arrive? The managers themselves don't really seem to care, since Alistair says that even though concerns are constantly being raised, nothing is done. And that is the end of the Nublar recordings at Outpost B. The next set of tapes are those showcasing the recordings of a group of people somehow going on a tour on Isla Sorna. The island has been cut off from the public after the San Diego incidents and tours are now illegal. However, some illegal tourism groups still try to exploit the island. Some never come back. We hear a little girl, her dad and a few others hop on a plane, heading towards the island to see dinosaurs. The kid said that she wants to sit by the plane window so that she could maybe see dinosaurs a little bit early. Well, she spoke too soon. It wasn't a dinosaur she saw but some pteranodons, one of which hit one of the plane's engines and causes the aircraft to crash land. From the child's point of view, we see that the plane is somehow split in half, and the pilot, or more than likely her dad, is being carried away by a pteranodon. And as she turns around, she herself is attacked by 2 pteranodons, which I assume kill her, because the recording is cut and we never hear from her again. Next we cut to what I think is the pilot, because the voice doesn't really match the dad's in the beginning of the recording. He makes his way up some stairs to a bridge and is confronted by one of the island's raptors. He tries to shout and scream at the animal in hopes of scaring it away as if it's a bear or something. As he tries to escape, a pteranodon was waiting for him at the end and he falls to his death, which was honestly the best outcome, since it was either that or being eaten alive by the raptor. Next we see John's tape, who seems to be the only person who survived, or at least I assume he does, since we don't really see him die or get chased by anything. All we see is a brachiosaurus in the distance. Andrew, however, wouldn't be that lucky. He tries to contact someone to come and rescue him, but there was no response, which is not too surprising since they are on a remote island. Before he could try to figure out what to do next, he hears a raptor, and as he runs, one jumps right up next to him. He manages to evade this raptor for a brief period of time. But now there were 2 raptors. Before he could successfully escape, he steps on a twig, alerting the 2 of them. One jumps onto the man and sends its claws into his chest and rips out his throat. This honestly made me do one of those audible cartoon gulps. Lastly is old Dave, who's immediately seen running from a T.rex and a Spinosaurus. The 2 predators temporarily lose interest in him and instead engage with each other, with the Spinosaurus coming out the victor and setting its sights on Dave once again. He runs into a visitor center mumbling to himself, almost sounding schizophrenic. This is honestly a nice touch because a lot of people after going through a near-death experience usually talk to themselves to try and reassure their safety as a coping mechanism. Mr. DNA soon plays on the screen and exclaims that they try their best to ensure safety on the island, which Dave doesn't buy and instead gets agitated. Not too long into Mr. DNA's speech, we hear the call of a dinosaur, which puts Dave on high alert, but he can't see anything. Only until he makes one final turn and sees a Dilophosaurus inches away from his face, which immediately just mauls him. And that brings us to the end of the lost tapes from Isla Sorna. I honestly hope I didn't butcher the order in which the characters were shown. I just went off the names near the end. Overall, it's a pretty good analog horror, especially for Jurassic Park. In my opinion, majority of the analog horror of Jurassic Park on YouTube is good. However, most are low-key just copies of each other or don't really make that much sense, like the repetitive still image jump scares or the flashing distorted faces. This one is the most realistic outcome of dinosaurs escaping a park, so go on ahead and check out Dino X86's channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this one too, folks. I'll see you in the next video.
Never